Good morning. Happy Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. So hapit na magkaway-kaway si Jose Marichan, pila na lang kaadlaw, September na. In the Philippines, the longest Christmas celebration. Sugod pa September. So today, I'd just like to take off gikan sa atong discussion last Sunday. That was very wonderful. Out of it at the end came a very fruitful input gikan kang Hermie o Jackwell, labi na kabayan na itong storya ni Elisha. Well, we were talking about Philippians. The last time we talked about the good work that Christ begins in us, and He continues it and He finishes it until He comes back, until we all come under His authority, as Ephesians chapter 1 verse 6 says. That's the plan all along. So isgutan dito nga daghan mga nadasig sa pagkapriso ni Apostol Pablo, because when he wrote the letter to the believers in Philippi, he was in prison. And while he was writing it, nag-ingon siya nga daghan ang nadasig tungod sa iyang pagkapriso, na nangisog po sila sa pagsulti sa maayong balita. There was persecution at that time, especially sa mga tumutuo ni Kristo. And this was like 8 years before the destruction of the temple, and years before the death of Paul. Kaya wala siya kaabot sa pagka-destroy sa temple, as we could see it. But anyway, maoto nga tuwas sa prison, naapoy uban nga nagpadayon kuno sila gwali. Their intention and their motive was to idiin pagyayon si Pablo dito sa prison. But sa ingon siya, but I do not care anymore. It doesn't matter to me as long as Christ is proclaimed. And yes, it's true. The church is really a messy, we don't call it an organization. It's a messy family. It's a family. Now, when we talk about the church, again, it's not the building, it's the people. And there are people who are encouraged. There are also people out to hurt us. There are people whose intentions are not good, but only for themselves. But Paul said, as long as Christ is preached, that's what matters to me. Because yung lagi dito, he is in a desperate yet hopeful position. He was in prison, he cannot do anything. But in fact, dito sa prison na nasultihan ni kabayan sa mga balita ang mga gwardya, nadasig sila. But ingon siya, it doesn't matter to me because I'm here. I cannot do anything about it. But as long as Christ is preached. Of course, we discussed that there were times that Peter, when he was outside, he was free. He was free to tell them the mistakes, the error, especially with regards to Christ, the gospel. So, mamaguna ang sitwasyon, mamaguna ang realidad sa simbahan. The church, again, is not the building. It's us, the people. And the reality is we've been hurt by the church, and we've been encouraged also by it, and it's true, di ba? Pero ang ato gyud nga kung masangyaw si Kristo, that's only what matters. That's very difficult, and I think that's a statement coming from maturity gikan gyud kang Apostol Pablo. So, naisgutan na mo dito, and I read the account on Elisha na share ni Hermie o ni Jackwell, kabayan na itong poison nga soup. Yes, there was an account in Elisha where nangaon sila. It is in 2 Kings chapter 4 verse 38. So, there was a famine in the land. So, murag scarce gud kayo, limited kayo ang pagkaon at that time. So, na mga propeta daw nga uban kang Elisha, kung ningon siya sa isa nila kaalagad nga bata pa, nga mag-andam og kining sabaw, pagkaon. So, nag-andam siya og nanguha siya og mga ingredients, and one of those ingredients was a herb nga actually poisonous. Gibutang niya sa soup. And then they ate it. Nakakaon na sila. Okay, ingon din I'll just read it. One of the young men went into the field to gather herbs and came back with a pocket full of wild gourds. 2 Kings chapter 4 verse 39. He shredded them and put them into the pot without realizing they were poisonous. Some of the stew were served to them, but after they had eaten a bite or two, they cried out, "Men of God," to Elisha. "There's a poison in the stew," so they would not eat it. So nakakaon na sila, nakatilaw na sila. Elisha said, "Bring me some flour." Then he threw it into the pot and said, "No, it's all right. Go ahead and eat." And then it did not harm them. So, interesting kay nga storya, di ba? Nagkaon na silang hilo. And then, it makes sense to us. It makes sense to us, especially regarding the Word of God, regarding the gospel. For a long time, we have been poisoned because there's a mix of religion, legalism, and the gospel. and we call it the counterfeit gospel. And there's also somehow when we get into grace, there is licentiousness going to relativism, ikaw na magbuot sa kamaturan, or the other word is agnosticism. Dito na lang yun nga, okay naman, gipasaylo na sa Ginoo, buhat na sa itong gusto, iliman po na mao. Diba? Because there's an investment on righteousness, ingon pa sa parable ni Jesus. In the stewards, there is an investment of righteousness in us, nagihatag sa Ginoo. So, but anyway, they were eating the poison already. They were eating the stew. But nothing happened to them once nagibuhat si Elisha, and then they continue eating it. And somehow we could relate it to our spiritual lives for a long time. We've been drinking the poison of religion and legalism, a mix of the gospel, which is not really the gospel. But then God, in His providence, in His kindness, in His love, in His mercy, found us out where we were when we were tired and burned out, and we said, we don't like the church, we don't like the people, not the building. We are hurt, but then it's where the Lord found us. As the Lord embraced us, said, I love you because you are the church, in spite of our imperfections. And also reminds us also, di ba? Ingon sa ito sa Ephesians, ato bagulutan na tiwas, Christ loved the church as the husband loves his wife. And ingon si Paul, this is a mystery to me. But that's really the reality of who we are. Because the church is failing, and we are the church. And we are also hurt by the church. But the reality is we have to still love the church. We have to forgive it. We have to be very careful about it. It's okay to tell about our hurts and disappointments. But in the end, what the Lord is calling us to love the church. Just like what Paul said, it doesn't matter to me as long as Christ is proclaimed. So, it's really a great reminder that the end of it all is love. Pagpasaylo, grasya, kaluoy. And once we were there, we were drinking the poison, but out of God's love and providence, He took us out. He made us realize, gipakog niya atong mga ulo, and then we realized, oh Lord, it's all about you. We're sorry. We were doing our best. We thought that that's it. That's the way to love, to please you, to serve you. But first of all, we are your children. And thank you that now we could just think sa gugma sa Ginoo sa ato. But when we are just resting, we are not contributing, it's then the time that we realize that we are nothing, but that God is our everything. He loves us so much. He's the one working actually. He's the one completing our salvation until He comes and establishes His kingdom, and we all be united. And we could just rest in that. And then the question always again, do you believe that? Yes, it's hard to believe, but we have to, because that's the truth of who we are. That's the truth of us. We are the church. We are loved by Christ. So, that's it for this week, midweek, and we'll talk more about Philippians on Sunday. Hope everybody is doing fine, and God bless. Blessings.